How's it going,
Hey,
everybody?
good evening, everybody.
Yeah, she done got caught off guard already, y'all, but it's all good. We both been caught off guard. Today has been a day, but we want to welcome
Happy
everybody.
Sunday.
Yeah, happy Sunday. We want to welcome everybody to the His Voice, Her Vibe podcast, season one, episode two. Episode two. We're so glad to be here. We're so
Yes,
glad
we
for
are.
everybody to come on and join us and those that will be coming in momentarily. And today we're going to have a really, really, really good topic, but I'm going to turn it over to my wife and we're going to do some things beforehand.
So, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. We just wanted to read a little disclaimer, and that is this podcast is all about real talk and personal growth. But we also want you to remember that we're not giving medical, legal, or psychological advice here. Everything shared is for insight and reflection only. If you're going through something tough, please reach out to a qualified professional who can give you the support you deserve.
Yeah, we don't want y'all doing nothing just based off of what we say, and then something end up happening that y'all don't find favorable, and then you be trying to come after us. So we want to say again, what's up, everybody? I see people joining on. My sister Tammy Terrell, what's up? She's already in the comments. And today we have a topic that I think a lot of us have talked about, but some of us, we just kind of brush over it. When we go through our life, everybody, I believe, at some point, especially us, as we've gotten older. I'll speak for myself. Have come to a point to where I've said this same phrase that I think a lot of people have said over the years. If I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. And so when I think about that particular statement, that reminds me of things that I may have done that I regret that I did or didn't do throughout my lifetime. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about regret.
Living with regret.
Absolutely. How it can be a teacher, but it can also be a trap as well.
So, according to Indeed, the top 5 biggest life regrets are: one, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number 2 was I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number 5 was I wish I had let myself be happier.
Wow.
We took a poll, and according to our poll on Facebook, if you didn't have a chance to see our poll, maybe reach out, look next time, next week. Every week we'll usually have a poll of some sort, but our poll stated 75% of the people that responded said that their most regret, the area of their life they most regret, 75% said relationships, 12% said financial decisions, and then there was 12% that marked other.
Wow.
Mr. Henderson, where would you fall in there?
Um, I would definitely say relationships. I think that's probably going to be the longest portion or topic that we will actually talk about during this podcast because that seems to hit everybody hard. I would also say that I feel like I may have some regrets career wise, and even in my area of study. I've talked to you about this, several times, wishing that I had actually started school a lot sooner than I have, not at the ripe old age of 53, just starting in college. Um, but it's never too late to go back. And
It's
so,
never too
yeah,
late.
I appreciate, the support and everybody supporting me on that. But that's just one regret that I've had, not taking the initiative to pursue it on my own. Most people know my story. At that particular time, I was doing some caretaking, and so that was the precedence. That was the priority for me at that particular time. But here we are, 2025, and I'm in school. So
And I'm so
thanks,
proud of you.
thank you, thank you.
I'm so proud of you. Okay. All right. Well, I would personally say I probably have there's a portion of life depending on the area or the time of life that you actually would catch me where I could probably mark all of these. I would say the area that probably weighed the most would be relational or maybe even financial, because I think that the older I've gotten, the more importance has been laid on being
Absolutely.
financially stable. And so I would say as I've gotten older, I see the importance of that. But I also would say, career and education. I mean, I have a college degree, I have a couple of degrees, but I didn't go straight to college right out of high school either. So I think in that regard, I would have went the moment that I got accepted to the college that I wanted to go to, which it was Prairie View
Yeah, go on,
A&M.
shout it out.
Um, but I didn't think that that was reachable for me at the time.
Right.
At the time, I had a lot of family things going on, and so I felt in my childlike mind that that wasn't the time, and looking back on it, I could have did it.
Yeah.
I could have did it, but, no regrets. I got there, not at Prairie View, but it's never too late.
Never too late.
Being in Houston,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's never too late.
That's it.
But, yeah, I think that I would say that I probably have a large percent in a couple of different areas.
Definitely, definitely. And I think all of us at some point, again, have had those moments where we've regretted things that we didn't do, things that we did do, decisions that we made. I was thinking about this particular topic just throughout the week, when we decided to speak on it. And it was amazing to me that in my mind, as I really just kind of scanned over my life, and scanned over different things that I did, some of the things, of course, in which I'm not proud of, but I can
What would those
remember
things
whatever.
be?
I can remember a point in my life where when I was in survival mode, um, trying to survive, trying to live, life circumstances was life. And it threw me some serious curves into some areas where I didn't actually think or believe that I would go, but I ended up being there. And of course, calling on the name of the Lord because that's what I was taught. You know,
So
that's
were
what.
you calling on
Oh,
the
I was
name of the
calling
Lord
on him.
only on that at that
Oh, no, no, no,
time?
no, 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 no. I call
I
on the
mean,
Lord all the time. I
I'm just
call on the Lord,
saying,
but in
we
this,
like to call on him when we in trouble
nah, nah, but
and not other times.
in
So
this
I'm just saying,
particular instance,
clarity is good.
in this particular instance, it was a rock bottom moment for me. It was a rock bottom moment for my life. It was a moment that I never thought that I would encounter, that I would have to deal with. And so, um, throughout my life, of course, God has always been a focal point for me. But in this particular circumstance, this is when I really began to understand and know Him for myself. He wasn't just the God of my grandfather who preached and pastored. He wasn't just the God of my grandmother, who did prison ministry and sung in the church and was, a church mother. He became my God, like my real personal, what I'm saying, Jesus. And so it was in that moment, of course, like I said, just kind of thinking throughout my life where I I I wish I hadn't did what I did that put me in that position, but I also understand that sometimes when you do things that you end up regretting, it may not necessarily be that it's a bad thing. It may look at like a bad thing in the beginning, but there's another side to it that when you come out of it, you end up being better than what you were when you went into it. And so, with that, us talking about regret being a trap and a teacher, that's just one, example that I can give you guys from, being in a situation, relationship, marriage, whatever, to being homeless, to coming out of that and becoming an entrepreneur and having a good job and getting a fine wife and kids and everything else that comes, with
Say that
that.
one more
So,
time. A what?
she want me to gaslight and stroke her ego. I ain't getting
I
ready to
mean, I'm
do it.
just saying,
But
you
I'm just
said it.
saying though, no, but of course y'all know my wife is fine. But I'm saying though, it that particular instance, one of many, is an example of how regret can become a teacher, even though it looked like it was a trap in the beginning. Yeah.
Wow, that's deep. I think that's really deep. I think that for me, um, especially when you're talking or looking at relational, it is, it was the pain of realizing that you were now living in regret, when at one point of your life, it was the highlight of your life. I mean, if
Absolutely.
we're just being real, most of you guys know Norris and I, this is not our first marriage, but, that the first marriage for me was very hard. That divorce was hard. And,
Oh, man.
you go from being angry to being happy sometime, and then, when you have children, it just makes it a little bit harder for you to navigate, for you to understand, and for you to deal with, your own feelings when you have to look at the feelings and the effects of, your children going through with you. And so for me, I think that relational regret is the one for me that probably cut the most,
Absolutely.
that hurt the most, that took the longest to bounce back from. The one also, like you said, that you learned the most from. A lot of times when relationships end, specifically marriages, a lot of people want to come out of it with, "It's someone else's fault." And I
Oh,
think for
yeah.
me, dealing with the regret and assuming responsibility, a portion of the responsibility, when you know better, you
You
do
do better.
better. You make better choices, you mature, you do all those things. I said, and I think for me, it just was like, how do I grow from this? How do I learn from it, and how do I come out a better Lisa because of it? And so now, where I am now in life, I can look back on that and think it wasn't all bad.
Right.
It wasn't all bad. I got 3 of the biggest blessings I could have ever gotten in life, which were my babies, out of that relationship, and I learned a lot about love and relationship and responsibility and what it means to really be a wife. I was forced to learn those things going through that. So even in regret, like you said, I think reasons, seasons, and lessons learned. I
Absolutely.
became a better me because of that, and I think even when we look at the broader scope of regret, when you know better, you do better. And how do you channel your mindset to be better when you come out at the other end?
Absolutely. And I mean, just listening to what you were saying, um, this was something I was thinking about earlier. I think what happens to a lot of us over time is that instead of allowing ourselves to work through the regret to get to the other side, we become stagnant in the definition of regret. And that right there, I mean, when it came to my mind, it was like, wow, because I don't think we ever really think about that. We can live in the definition of regret so long that it will stagnate your life to a point to
Mhm.
where if you allow it, you won't you might not come out of the area that you need to come out of, and sometimes by definition, things, I mean, they get hard, you struggle, you go through different things, and we all have struggles, we all have experienced some type of hardship or whatever in our lives. But if we allow the definition of regret to trap us, then it puts us in a position to where moving forward is a very slow process, almost like a snail. Like, they move really, really, really slow. They get to a destination, but they move really, really slow, as opposed to taking accountability, learning to accept, it may not have necessarily been that person all of the time or this situation all of the time. Sometimes it was the decision that I made, you know what I mean? And because of that decision, I'm here and I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. And so, by definition, I just want to read this regret. It says to feel sad, repentant, or disappointed over something that has happened or been done, especially a loss or missed opportunity.
Mhm.
And that's a powerful definition to me.
So there's 4 types of regret. Um, and those 4 types are foundation regret, they are boldness regrets, moral regrets, and connection regrets. Foundation regrets are failures to be responsible or prudent in early life, with small choices accumulating to negative consequences later on.
Wow.
Boldness regrets. They are regrets about not taking a chance when presented with an opportunity, moral regrets, which is regrets about making a choice that was wrong or unethical, even if it felt good at the time. Whoa.
Whoa.
That now we could unpack a whole lot there.
Wow.
Lastly is connection regrets. Regrets about neglecting or damaging relationships with family and friends.
Mm.
So, that connection regret, I just want to touch on that. And I just want to take the time because it seems so profound right now in this moment for me to say this. Fix it with your folks if it's possible.
Oh my God.
Fix it with your folks if it's possible. And if it's not, forgive and move on.
Absolutely.
Forgive and move on. And
Absolutely.
and and I say that coming from a place of someone who doesn't have parents that are alive anymore. And I see so many people and I talk to so many people that have lost a parent or a parent, a mother or a father, and it's but what if?
Oh
But what
man.
if? What if
Yeah.
I had did this? Or what if I had have said that? Or, I should have did this or I should have did that. And one thing I will say that I find peace in is knowing that I knew my parents loved me.
Right.
They loved me. I loved them, and there were no regrets because
Right.
we seized every opportunity to love on one another. And so I had to say that for somebody that's listening out there, somebody needed to hear that. And so wanted to share that. Tell call your people, check on them, tell them you love them. If you can fix it, fix it. If you can't, generate boundaries, forgive, and move on.
Right. We have a comment from Denise Daniels, and she says that she has a lot of regrets. So many, too many. But as she looks over her life, those things that she didn't accomplish, they happen for a reason. So much that you appreciate and you're thankful for where you are in life now.
Yes,
And I would absolutely positively agree with that.
absolutely.
Some of those things that didn't happen, I always say um I thank God for the things that didn't happen. We always thank God for the things that do happen, for the good things, but sometimes I have to thank God for the thing that didn't survive. I thank God for the relationship that didn't survive. I thank God for the situation at a job or whatever that didn't you know knock me down or keep me down or just whatever. You can use that in whatever example and insert it in wherever you need to insert that in your life. But I'm thankful for the things that didn't happen.
And you know what? I think that you just said a mouthful with being thankful for the things that didn't happen because I do think that a lot of times we focus so much on things that do happen that when they don't happen, we don't know how to respond to them. We
Absolutely.
don't know how to be thankful for the no's
Right.
or the delays.
Right.
Because the denial, it's not always about it being denied. Sometimes it's about being delayed. And so I think that we don't focus enough on maybe just this isn't my time.
Right.
Or maybe God is protecting me, or maybe he's keeping something from me because maybe I'm just not ready yet. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. When you
I
look
would
at things
agree.
and you say, maybe it's just possible I'm not ready.
Right.
You think you are, but really when you evaluate things, are you really ready? Are you really prepared?
Yeah.
For that situation, for whatever it may be. Are you prepared? Do you have what it takes
Right.
to be who or what you need to be in that time, in that moment, in that situation?
And in some instances, if you really think about it, I know I've been talking about a God a lot, which I already said that, it was gonna be that on some podcasts that we do, but when you were saying that, it made me think of that scripture, that came to mind where he says, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you." So that's the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. You give him thanks regardless of it, because like she said, he could be protecting you from something.
And baby, when you look back over your
Oh,
life,
yeah.
when you can now see it because 'cause you're not in it, man, I'm telling you, please, that'll preach.
And
When
it's
you can
yeah.
look back on it and truly be thankful that 1, you're either out of it,
Mhm.
2, it didn't happen for you because it wasn't supposed to, and 3, you didn't get it because it wasn't what God had for you because he has something greater on the other side. I mean, that all
Wow.
by itself is enough, but, a lot of times we have to say, "You gotta be mature for that lesson."
You definitely have to be mature for it. And something that came to mind, Um, I was teaching one night. It was a while ago, and this thought came clear as day to me. People always want God, I'm asking you for this, and I need this blessing, and I need this blessing, and this, that, and the third. And it was so clear, what he said to me in the moment that that I was teaching. And he literally explained it to me in these very short, quick sentences. The reason that I don't allow you to be able to get everything that it is that you want is because if I gave you everything that you wanted, you don't have the capacity, the mental capacity, or the emotional intelligence to be able to handle it all. If I gave it to you, you would squander it. Man, when he said that to me, it blew my mind because it's the truth. A lot of the times we want, and we don't have the capacity to be able to handle it. And if he did give it to us, we
What
would
you gonna
blow
do
it.
with
We would blow it because we don't have the
it?
mental capacity, we don't have the know-how, we don't have that knowledge needed to be able to obtain and sustain it. And so, again, I mean, we don't want to get off topic with regret, and we ain't trying to preach, but we just, bring us some real tangible life lessons, that at the end of the day, you know, it may look ugly and it may not look favorable, but there's always something on the other side.
So I'd like to pose a question to the audience. What When you have regretted something, what's your comeback?
Say that
So
again.
you make a decision, you make a choice, and you regret it. How do you come out of that source? How do you come out of that sense of regret? That feeling of I should have did something different. How do you bring yourself out of it? In some instances, how do you forgive yourself and move past that feeling of regret or even failure? For the a lack of better terms, how do you bring yourself out of that?
I think for me, the first thing that I need to do is I need to, and I'm talking for me. I'm not speaking for nobody else. Let me put that out there, disclaimer. Um, but I think the first thing for me is when I recognize that I've made a decision that's wrong, or however you want to put it, I take accountability for that decision. I don't blame it on anybody else, even though it could be a situation where somebody may have, done something to me or whatever. At the end of the day, I can't control anybody else. I can only control me. I can only control what I do. I can only control how I respond. And so if I respond in a way that I know is unfavorable, I take accountability first and foremost. You know what, Norris? And I do a lot of, self-talk. People might say I'm crazy, but I do a lot of inner inner talking to myself. And I say, you know what, Norris, you was wrong for that, bro. You know better. You know what I'm saying? You know better. You went way too far. You had no business doing this. So now, because you did this, these are the things that you're probably going to run into. So the second thing I do is I start to play in my mind how this is going to affect not just me, those around me, those that I'm dealing with that I may be in a situation with or whatever. So I take
That you might
accountability.
be in a situation with.
You know what I'm saying.
Watch yourself.
Girl, go on somewhere. Um, but I take accountability. I think about how it's gonna affect not just me, but those that are around me that, this situation may, touch. And then the third thing is I begin to pray, and I put in practice what I know to be true. So if that means that I need to ask for forgiveness, you gotta do that. And a lot of people don't wanna do that because of the spirit of pride. They don't wanna admit that they're wrong. They don't wanna allow themselves to become vulnerable to a degree because being able to actually apologize and apologize sincerely brings a level of vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? Because they could just be like, "You know what? I'm done with you, regardless. I don't wanna hear nothing you gotta say." But at the end of the day, that apologizing, if it's sincere, it's not for them, it's for you. You know what I'm saying? You do the right thing. You make the right choices. You do the thing that makes things right. And so, even with that, when you go to that level and you apologize and you are not just utilizing words, but you're putting forth action to make this thing tangible and visible for them to be able to see. If they don't agree with it, if they don't take it, at that particular point, that's not on you. biblically speaking, you've done what you're supposed to do to make things right. Now, if they don't accept that, that's on them. That's their thought. That's their mind frame. My thing is at the end of the day, I want to be able to say that I made it right with them and with God. And if I can do that and I can walk away in peace, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, Mr.
That's
Henderson.
my thought.
Did anybody in the comments have a response to that?
Yeah. So Timmy Terrell says, I had to learn that people do what you allow them to. So when I understood that I was able to get out of victim mode and I took accountability and started to work on forgiving myself, that's a huge piece. Instead of focusing on what the other person did to me, that's what helped me, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And that makes all the sense in the world. Again, accountability and making sure that you can see, because a lot of us don't ever want to look at the part that we played. And I'm not going to say that there are not instances in your life where you have not, or where you have, there's going to be instances in your life where you're not the person, that you didn't do anything. Somebody just did this to you just because. We don't like to talk about it, but it's true. Some people are just hateful and they do things to you just because this is something that they want to do. They don't feel you for whatever reason. And because they don't feel you for whatever reason, they treat you whatever way that they feel like they want to treat you. It could be the light on the inside of you. It could be that, you swag out better than them. I mean, it could be some of the silliest stuff,
Could be.
but misplaced admiration, jealousy, that's all that is. And so people will do that. They'll misplace their admiration for you and they'll do all of this stuff to you because you may be doing something that they feel is better than them, or you may be living in a way that they think that you shouldn't live. You ain't supposed to live like this. You ain't supposed to do what you're doing. You're not
This is
supposed to,
true.
you know what I'm saying? You ain't supposed to swall out, ball out and be swaggy, and you ain't supposed to do none of that stuff. You supposed to be the person that I knew you to be back in the gap when you didn't have all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so people is fickle. I've learned that over
They
the
are.
years.
They are. And I think for me, when I realized that I've made an error in whatever it may be, I think accountability is key.
Absolutely.
So, one, okay, I made this choice. I went and bought this, whatever. And I probably should have waited for it because I don't like to wait.
No. Oh, she's impatient,
And
y'all.
so, so I would say that, when I realize that I've made an error, I've made a mistake, and I'm regretting a decision that I've made. One is accountability, and two is, okay, so how do I fix it? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not easy to fix situations that or reverse decisions that you've made. It's not easy to fix. And so I have to forgive myself. I think someone in the comments said that piece. I have to forgive myself.
Yes.
I have to figure out, okay, what am I going to do different next time? And then I'm a person that tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
I'm not there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not carrying it into tomorrow because tomorrow's a new day. So tomorrow, if God say the same, is my opportunity to start all over again. I'm not harboring on what happened yesterday or the day before because that's done and over with.
Right.
How do I make my tomorrow better than my today or yesterday was?
Shout out to you for what you just said. Tomorrow's a new day. Because if I'm being honest, I didn't have that. I didn't have that thought pattern. I didn't have that approach to life until I met you. And that's real talk. I ain't trying to gaslight you, or nothing like that. But for real, that's something that when I noticed that was the mind frame that you had, it made sense to me. And so I had to work to a place to where I could say, well, you know what? Okay, this did happen today. Tomorrow's a new day, bro.
Tomorrow's a new day. How can you live life? Well, I guess if you live in regret, you can live a life like that. But for me, in order to change your situation, you have to be willing to start all over. And I just believe that if God gives us an opportunity to live another day, He wants us to live that day in its fullness. You can't live life or any day in its fullness when you carry in the baggage and the regret and the hatefulness and all those negative things into your tomorrow. And how do you ever aspire for more or to even be better
Right.
if you don't see tomorrow's a new day? You still carrying all that baggage. Let it go.
Take no thought for tomorrow will take care of the things of itself.
And it will.
I mean, these are literally all biblical principles
And it will.
that we're talking about. And again, like I said, we're not trying to preach, but these are literal biblical principles that that are applicable to our
Yeah.
everyday life.
Yeah.
AD Manny, he says, in a relationship or a friendship, you have to understand or know what you can deal with.
And you know what I will say, AD, about that is,
Shout out to AD.
I think maturity, you have to be mature for that. And I think maturity allows you to make the decision when you know
Right.
that that's something that you can or cannot, that you cannot specifically deal with, to move around. Immaturity will cause you to stay and think that you are going to change a person or they gonna do something different.
Right.
No, they are exactly who they are when you meet them, and you have to believe that. I'm not saying that people can't change, I'm not saying that they can't be better people, but specifically in a relationship,
Right.
you have to accept people for what they are that day and in that moment. And when you know that it's a situation or something that you can't deal with, unfortunately,
Mhm.
which can be hard, hurtful, and be, I mean, life altering,
Yeah.
but you got to move around.
You gotta move
Life
around.
is short, y'all.
You gotta move
Life is
around.
short.
And understand that even, in the beginning, we talk about it a lot. You always get the representative. You in the beginning, you get that nice person, you get that sweet person, you get that person, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll do this and I'll do that," and, they do all of these nice, wonderful things, for you in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? And then as time goes and we see, snippets and clips and videos, of it all the time on social media, how it is,
It
when
looks
you
good.
when you're dating in the beginning,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
after a year, things change. And then after 2 years, things change. And after 5 years, things change. Well, here's the thing, especially when it comes to relationships, you know, the same way you got that person, and I'm a firm believer, is the same way that you got to keep them. So if you was buying flowers,
Walk in your decision.
yeah, if you was buying flowers, you don't stop buying flowers just because you 2 years down the road. You know what I'm saying? If you was, well, hey, we said it was gonna be grown talk. If y'all was drawing bubble baths and y'all was sitting in the tub and y'all was drinking wine in the beginning,
Yeah.
Imma keep it a bug. Y'all already
You
know.
have to continue to be who and what you are. And it's so funny, like, this is kinda off topic and we going way down a rabbit hole, but, you always hear I hear a lot men say, and men tell me, "Well, she was this way when I first got with her.
Mhm.
She, had herself done up all the time, was going to the gym and, was looking fly, yada yada. But now she come to bed with her bonnet. She wear her moo around the house." But y'all fail to recognize she done had 2, 3 babies. She
Yeah.
went to work today. She came home, cleaned the house.
Oh, Lord.
And I just think that we also have to realize in that, especially in that specific situation
Right.
example that I just gave, life happens too.
Absolutely.
Life happens too. And when you pick her up from for a date, it probably took her 2 hours to get ready for that, but now y'all living together, you seeing the backside of that
Mhm.
finished, put together product, and so I think that we just have to remember that life also happens, in situations and in regrets, and when you're dealing with regret and life happening, as long as you wake up the next day, life is still happening.
Absolutely.
Life is never going to stop happening. There's always going to be somewhat of a bump in the road, and we have to learn to move beyond the regret and find the grace,
Right.
the patience, and the desire to move beyond that moment, beyond that time, and beyond that situation.
And you gotta understand that people are gonna change over time too. If
Yeah.
if if you've been with somebody for 15 years, shoot, for even a year, 2 years, and they're still the same person that you met, a year or 2 years down the road, something's wrong. Because to me, as you matriculate through life, you need to be growing. There's something that's innately in you that should be, wanting to learn and wanting to develop and wanting to be better and wanting to do better. And so you make the provisions and the necessary, steps toward doing that. So, I mean, if you stuck, like that, you might need to, figure out what's going on, see why your wheels are spinning, or that person that you with, why their wheels are spinning. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions and having conversation. Here's the thing though, because I want to put this out there too. A lot of people, especially men, especially black men, when you start asking questions and things like that, a lot of them don't necessarily know how to communicate because we not really taught that. And so you might have to work, you know what I'm saying, in order to be able to get to a point to where that person actually opens up or that man actually opens up and communicates with you. But again, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. If that brother loves you and you're asking him questions because you see potential in him and that you want to see him do better and be better and you see the growth that can happen in that person, then I don't see anything wrong with that.
I
It's
agree.
very challenging. We lived through it. That's why I can speak on it. We lived through it because I'm telling y'all, don't ask me nothing. I ain't getting ready to argue with you. First thing came out my mouth every time.
Communicating is not arguing.
And
There is a big difference.
and that's the truth. But in my mind, because I'm non-confrontational for real, unless you really like piss me off, like for real, I ain't getting ready to argue with you. I'm just gonna shut down and I'm gonna sit over here and I'm gonna be quiet. And that's what I did for a lot of the beginning of our relationship. But again, growth. Do I really want to stay with this woman? Because she's a communicator. We can't keep going on like this. So what are you gonna do, Norris? You're gonna have to change. But with seeing that it was a safe space, that helped me to be able to say, okay, well, I can really say what's on my mind for real. She may not necessarily like it all the time, but I can say it, and it's not going to be weaponized. I'm not going to hear it later on. Well, you said it. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us have been through in our lifetime, and so shout out to you again for helping me to grow in that area.
So when we're talking about moral regrets, which is regrets about making a choice that was wrong or unethical, even if it felt good at that time,
Right.
how do you manage or how would you manage or deal with that? Ooh, and the example, of course. The example that was given was cheating on a spouse or a test, lying or bullying.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Read that
Those
question.
were the examples
Read the
that were
question
given. So I
again.
want you to tell me how you manage or you deal with making a choice that was wrong or unethical, even if it felt good at the time.
Again, accountability
How do
is
you yeah, how do you
everything.
manage that?
Accountability is everything.
That moral regret.
Yeah. That's a hard pill, you know what I'm saying, when you do that. And again, it can actually go back to what I was saying. When you're in survival mode, you do a lot of that. I know I
This is
did.
true.
I did that. I can't speak for anybody else, but when I was in survival mode for real, just trying to live and trying to survive, man, I did a lot of stuff, bro, that was against my moral fabric. You know what I'm saying? But thank God for repentance. You know what I'm saying? And again, going back to what I said, a person, if it was somebody that I wronged, I did my best to make sure that I tried to make that right with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, um, sometimes, man, we do things to people and they truly don't deserve it. They truly don't. I, I'm gonna use this example, and I know it's gonna kind of sound crazy when I say it, but I'm gonna liken this to somebody that is like addicted, like to something like really really strong, like whatever drug or whatever it is. A lot of the time, man, when you deal with people that have addictions and stuff like that, they do a lot of the stuff that would typically be against their moral fabric or their moral character.
Mm, mm.
Just for the sake of, wanting, that hit, or, wanting to feel good again or feel normal because this has become their new norm. And so, they do a lot of stuff that they just typically wouldn't do. And I've seen it for myself just based on people that I know who have done people wrong, and they knew that they were wrong, but they were in that addicted state, and it was hard for them to come out of that state or out from under that spirit that they were under.
Mm.
And even though they did the stuff at the time, at night they would cry because they knew that it was wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Addiction is rough.
It's rough. It's very
And,
rough.
it's not just rough on the addict. It's rough on everyone involved. And I think that, we have to remember that when we're dealing with people and when we're dealing with folks that tend to have those tendencies, that it is the addiction and not the person.
Absolutely.
So when you're dealing with someone that is not capable of managing or even having the feeling of regret at this time or at that given time, how do you create boundaries
Mhm.
to where you are protecting yourself and or your family or your whatever it may be? How do you, in a healthy manner, create those boundaries?
Yeah. Boundaries are important. They are so vital and so important. And if we just being honest, sometimes we don't even necessarily want to set the boundaries because of the love that we have for that particular person. You know what I'm saying? I think for a lot of us, when we feel like, we love somebody, whether it's, relational, or whether it's, somebody, in your family, or whatever the case may be, you don't really feel like you should have to set boundaries. But the truth of the matter is that, I mean, in some
They're
instances,
necessary.
they're necessary for your own emotional well-being and your own peace.
And I have learned that there's absolutely nothing wrong with having boundaries. Boundaries doesn't mean that you're mad or you're unforgiving or that you don't like the person or just whatever it may be. Boundaries sometimes are for your own protection, your own peace, your own sense of this is what I have to do for myself for right now until I can get to a better place, to
Right.
manage better, to do better, to even be better sometime, in certain situations. So I think that, people don't understand boundaries.
Right.
I don't know that in my younger years I knew very much about having boundaries, because I would say that up until probably maybe the last 5 to 10 years, one of my largest regrets had been always living life for other people.
Oh, yeah. Oh
Always
my god.
being the go-to person, and I still struggle with that in a lot of ways, but always being that go-to person, always being the person that has it, always being the person that's going to fix it, and I'm now learning that I don't have to be that person. I don't
Right.
have to be a people pleaser. I don't have to come to the rescue all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with me having boundaries, and so I just take the time to say that because I know there's a lot of people. I don't know what the condition is, but it has to be some type of condition where, you for whatever reason, some of us are just the chosen ones,
Mhm.
and when you have been chosen or deemed to be the strong friend, the strong family member, the make it happen, all those things, you have to also learn how balance is important because while that's a part of who and what you are, balance, if you lack boundaries,
Mhm.
it will consume your life. And then there is no happiness and no joy that you
Absolutely.
get in living. And I mean, that is very strong, but it's very true.
Absolutely.
And so I just would have to say that I've worked very hard. My husband has put up with a lot with me and worked very hard with me to help me understand that I don't have to be what someone else is lacking.
And that doesn't mean that I'm just being mean to folks.
I didn't say that
No, 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 no,
because
no.
it's not even about people, but it's about me.
Right.
And in order for me to live a happy, healthy, balanced life, I needed to learn to have boundaries, and
Right.
I needed to learn the importance of no.
Right. That's a whole sentence.
And it's okay to say no.
Right.
It's okay to not be available. It's okay to not be accessible. It's okay.
Right.
And it doesn't make me a bad person or less of who and what I've been called to be to say no.
I agree with that absolutely. Let me read a couple of these comments. Denise Daniels, she says, "That's so true, Lisa. Boundaries are to protect you." Carlos Henderson, she says, "That's a struggle for her right now."
Yeah.
Mama Kim, Kimberly Cole Davis, she says, "Boundaries are safeties for both parties."
Yes,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
yes.
Oh
And
my
I
gosh.
don't know where and I don't know why having boundaries became such a bad thing.
Right.
And I would want to err on the side of saying because it makes someone else uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but I don't know where it became bad.
Oh,
And maybe I don't understand
I
where
have
it
an idea.
became bad because
I have an idea.
I suffered with people pleasing. And so now that I get
Mhm.
boundaries help keep me happy and healthy and sane and life is peaceful.
Right.
So maybe that I don't know. But somewhere along the line, boundaries became, for some people, a bad thing. And I don't know if that correlates with them not getting who or what they want at the time.
Well, you just said it yourself. That's the reason that boundaries have become such a bad thing. Because when you set up boundaries, people don't have access to you like they used to have or like they
This is
want to
true.
have.
This is true.
A lot of people want you to be an open book and be able to, whenever you call, you be there for them. Whatever you need, you give it to them. Whatever they ask for you to do, you do it for them. And so when you say finally within yourself, hey, you know what I'm saying? This is a bit much, on me, then it actually goes back to this particular comment that Denise Daniels put up. It's exhausting.
It is very exhausting.
You become exhausted literally being someone else's go-to all the time.
And you know what? Of course, keeping with regret, I can look back on a lot of things that I didn't do, missed opportunities because I was too busy making someone else happy. I was too
Wow.
busy focusing on, I mean, even my kids for that matter. Well, I need to do this. I need to sacrifice for them. I need to make sure they got. I need to make sure my husband has. I need to make sure the job has. I got to fly out because I have work or I got
Mhm.
this or I got that. But when I look back on the regret for missed opportunities, there are some where I had great opportunities,
Mhm.
especially early on in my career where I could have did a lot of things much sooner or much faster, but
Right.
I made the sacrifice not to do it. Do I live in regret necessarily? No, because that meant that I was able to be present while my kids were growing up, while they
Right.
were active, while they were involved. And nothing ever beats being the mom that I wanted to be to my children. But when you look at the possibilities and the opportunity, you do have some regrets because there were some that could have been taken
Right.
and some things that could have been worked out and, some ways that things could have been managed differently. But I think that, sometimes we get in our own way.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely.
I think sometimes we don't trust God. All we can see is what we can see in front of us, and we can't see, on down the road
Right.
what might have been more beneficial. But I just think that we have to start every day a new day. And I guess that's where I'm kinda going with that is even in that regret, tomorrow's a new day.
I
And
agree.
and as long as God provides us the opportunity to open our eyes, we have another chance to get it right.
I totally agree. We're not getting ready to wrap up quite yet, but we gonna let's go ahead and jump into this relationship regret piece because this might take a little bit, and we don't want to, belabor y'all with this long conversation. But we coming up on 50 minutes, so You know, it's we've been having a ball. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying all of the comments. Thank you all for engaging. I hope you're able to see the comments and everything else. Let me put this one up. Deborah Thompson, she says, it's only bad for the ones who don't have their own boundaries or it cuts off access to you, which is exactly basically what I was saying.
Yeah.
This is what I was
Very
saying.
true, Deborah.
You know, people would love to be able to have access to you at all times, but it's just not possible. There's especially for someone who you know, is family oriented, has husband, has kids, or you might not even have a husband, but you have kids, or whatever the case may be. You might be a career person, you know, career man, career woman, or whatever, you know, and that engulfs a lot of your time. There's nothing wrong with being able to, you know, share yourself, you know, with people and being, you know, able to help. I believe that it's a good thing for you to be able to help people, but you can't be all things to all people all the time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to refresh and recharge yourself. You can't. We hear it all the time. You can't pour from an empty cup or an empty glass, and you
Oh, true.
can't. You know, when do
So
you take
true.
the time to refresh and refill and recalibrate for you? Because at the end of the day, you only got one you, and you only got one life. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So you want to live it to the fullest. You know what I mean? And do everything that you want to do, you know, and help people along the way. I see nothing wrong with that. So let's get into this relationship piece. Ooh wee. I know we could talk about this all day. We could talk about it all day. But how I mean, just y'all can't even give me no hands or no show of hands. But I know all of us have dealt with relationship regret in some way, shape, or form. I know we have. You know, I wish I'd have never messed with him. I wish I'd have never messed with her. I wish I'd have never married that joker. I wish I'd have never had kids by some man, come on. We just talking real talk. And I mean, if we just want to go further, you know, like I said, we said it was gonna be grown talk. I wish I'd have never laid down and had sex with this person. I'd have wish I kept myself to myself and not let you get a part of me that you really didn't deserve.
And you know what? I think that is for me where if you're talking relational or, um, making a choice to have sex or sleep with somebody or whatever, that for me is probably the biggest part about anything. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily on a physical, it could be an emotional side. I regretting giving someone a part of you that didn't
Woo!
deserve that part of
Oh
you.
my God.
And so I think that is probably where I would say, relationally speaking, when you're talking about you and another person, be it a friendship, a relationship, a romantic ship, whatever it could be, I think that is where it lies for me. Giving someone a piece or part of me that they didn't deserve. And you never find that out. Hindsight is 2020.
Absolutely.
And so I think that that is where it tugs at me probably the most. Is giving someone a part of me they didn't deserve,
Yo, big
or a
brother.
part of me that they mishandled.
Steve talking about me and Jesus alone. Get out of here, Steve.
So
But
yeah,
yeah,
don't don't mishandle me.
and I think, you know, even in that, there's a side for men and there's a side for women. You don't hear men talk about it often, because, you know, in today's society, I mean, we're typically, you know, deemed as the ones, you know, who are doing the bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're the one, and we talked about it, you know, on our last podcast, you know, where we had posed the question: Can men actually dish out the type of things that they do to women? Can they take what they dish out? And you know, we have, of course, you know, our thoughts on it and everything, but it's there is two sides, and men actually nowadays, you know, they're going through that more so, you know, but I think it's because of the thought patterns that have been, you know, affected by just societal stuff, you know, where, you know, women are just like, hey, you know what? Y'all been doing this for years, so I'm gonna do it now. You know what I'm saying? And while it seems
Right
like
back ain't cheating.
and while it seems like is, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. While it seems like that's okay, it's not okay. And the reason that I say that is because you're gonna reap what you sow. It don't matter who you are. And just because somebody did that to you in the past does not give you a license to do that in the present to somebody
I
else.
totally I totally agree. Go be healed.
Go be healed. Go
Go
sit
be
down
healed.
somewhere and be healed for real. And it's
Mhm.
easier said than done.
Took me many years of therapy,
It's
many years
easier
of
it's
therapy.
it's easier said than done to do that. You know what I'm
And I'm
saying?
being honest, many years of therapy.
Yeah. But even in that, you know what I'm saying? You have to be careful. And this is across the board, men to women, women to men. You have to be careful on how you treat, another person because it's going to come back to get you at some point. It's going to come back to bite you. It sucks, but that's just the reality of life. It's the law of reciprocity. You reap what you sow. You gonna get it. And we talk to even with our kids, especially with our son, you know, hey, be careful on how you treat folks because it comes back to bite you. And I've seen that happen to people, where they I mean messed over good women, real good women. And man, that thing came back and slapped them across the face. They thought they was so in love. Oh, I just love it, and she's just the one, and this, that, and the third, man, and that woman draw that brother almost off a cliff, and I'm not talking about our son, I'm talking about somebody else, and I've seen that, and it's a devastating thing, but again, going back to regret, sometimes in the midst of you doing what it is that you're doing, you don't think about the repercussions, and that ends up being something that you can regret later on,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
real.
True what your comments got.
Wow, we got a lot of comments, a lot of comments. I like how y'all engaging. So Denise Daniels, she says, "Yes, Lord, Lisa. Like, how can I get that back from that person? But I should have recognized the red flags. Oh my God.
So while you get to the next comment, I'm gonna address that.
Let's
So
address it.
that's major. We overlook the red flags.
Oh Lord.
And a lot of times we overlook them because one, we've not gone and been healed.
No, that's
That's one
true.
thing.
That's a
The
true
second one
statement.
is we want to see the potential good in everybody.
Especially for women.
We especially for
Especially for
women.
women.
We want to see the potential. We want to see the good and we ignore
Mhm.
all the warning signs. All the warning signs. And I think sometimes we even go as far as, especially for women, because we don't wanna be by ourselves.
Wow.
We want somebody to talk to, we want somebody to hang out with, we want somebody to touch us.
Don't leave men off the hook.
We ignore
Because some
all
cats
the
won't
red flags.
some
We
cats they
stay
they
in
wanna they
it.
won't
There's an expiration
they
date.
can't they can't
Let
be
me
by
say that
themselves
part.
too.
There's an expiration date on a lot of things, and sometimes we keep expired items.
Woo-wee.
When we keep
Oh my
things
God.
beyond their date of
It
expiration,
spoils.
it spoils.
And
And
if
I
you keep it too long, like drinking some spoiled milk, you cause yourself to
to be
become
sick.
physically sick.
So I'm just
Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna let that sit right there.
Oh my God. That's good right there. Carlos Henderson says, that's where it shows we are as a people get impatient with waiting on God to bless us with the person that he has for us.
And
And you
yes.
you find that so much,
And
especially
and Carlos, I just want to say that, especially when you've been by yourself for a long time and you feel like you've waited and
Mhm.
and everybody around you's getting married and everybody around you looks like they're happy and everybody around you, Lord, where my man?
Right.
God, where's my woman? Where's my, ever after? We have to learn to stop looking at what looks greener
Right.
on the other side and start harvesting
Let me talk to my church
what
sisters
God
real
got
quick.
for you.
Let me talk to my church sisters real quick. Y'all, it's okay to want a man. I get it. I totally understand it. And yeah, I know this might sound, you know, easy for me to say coming from somebody that's married or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But this would be my thing for y'all. if you're gonna wait on God to send you your man, well, number one, make yourself available. And what do I mean by that? There's nothing wrong with you going out, putting on a nice, whatever. Please don't put on no missionary dress and go what? Let me say what I'm gonna say. Please don't put no missionary dress on with no,
But
Deaconess 2000
he's
heels.
talking to his church sisters.
with, with the Deaconess 2000 heels, and trying to pull you a man. That ain't how that works. Put you on something, look good, make yourself, you know what I'm saying, approachable. You know what I'm saying in that regard. And I'm talking to my women, my church women right now for real. But I'm gonna just take it a step further. When you get that man, be it church man or church woman, and I know this is gonna kind of ruffle some feathers, but I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. Church man, church woman. When you get that man or that woman, and y'all decide that y'all gonna go ahead and get married, and y'all do get married and stuff like that, don't become the dry husband or wife when it come time for y'all to do
Sir,
what
that
y'all
is
need to do.
another topic for
Nah,
another
man.
Sunday.
But wait a minute, no, it's not another topic. And the reason that I say that is because there are oftentimes in this particular instance where people have regretted who it was that
I
they
get
waited
it.
for.
I get it. I just don't want you to go
I ain't going
way
down no
down
rabbit
that
hole.
rabbit hole.
Y'all, she ain't gonna let me preach.
To the
But I'm just
comments.
saying, y'all,
To the
don't
comments.
get dry when you get your man or your spouse.
And I
Don't get
do
dry.
agree. I do agree.
Don't get dry. All right. She don't want me to preach, y'all. It's
I thought I
okay.
saw one from Damien on there pop up.
Let's see. Damian Standiford, he actually has a couple on here. So Damian Standiford says, when you mishandle a person after a while, it turns a kind heart into a stony heart slowly. Ooh
Ooh.
wee.
Ooh. And that becomes dangerous.
It really
When
does.
you mishandle a person and that person continues to stay or whatever, continues to be around, continues to deal with the person who's mishandling them, it does turn a kind heart into a
Absolutely.
stone. But that's when we talked about expiration dates in some situation.
True.
It could be the expiration date of dealing with that person according to that situation. It could be an expiration date with regard to access. It could be an expiration date regard to I'm going to stop letting certain situations with regard to this person bother me. You have to ask God how not to harden your heart and give you what you need. One, to either deal with this person, or two, the courage to move around.
Yeah. Because
A
all you
heart of stone is never good.
and what it does is it puts you in a situation where you potentially end up stepping out because of that. Because you
Tammy, don't hype him up.
the mind gets to thinking about a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? Especially
It's
when you
true.
when you get to that point to where your heart is stony. And the Bible even talks about that. Where it says the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? Your heart is fickle because it moves and it sways and it tosses with how you feel, as opposed to what you really know, in your mind to be truth. And so, you can open up the door for a whole lot of extra that you don't need. I mean, we say it all the time, and we are never one, and we talk to a lot of people. Like we really do. She talks to a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people. I'm never one to tell anybody to leave their spouse. I will never tell you that because I honestly believe that God has, if he has an open window and an opportunity to heal it, and you're open to that, then let him do that. But
That's true.
if you ain't seeing something, no progress, and a person emphatically, hey, I don't want this no more,
Seek help.
seek help.
I'm always gonna say that.
Seek help.
Seek help.
Seek help. Because, if that help can't help, I mean, you're not left with a whole lot of choices.
And I say, tell God on them. I learned that saying from one of my pastors back in Wichita. Pastor Yolanda Oliver White taught me that. And that is one thing about that I got from her that I will always remember. Tell God on them. And I will say that I use it in our marriage. I use it in my relationships.
Absolutely.
I learned that sometimes you just gotta stop being mad. Sometimes you just have to start saying, "Okay, let me tell God on them, cause Lisa, Gangsta Boo, don't need to deal with it." So I have to hand it over. And so I would just say before you ever allow your heart to be stony or to be angry or to carry that weight um within yourself, is tell God on 'em. And trust me, it works.
I've gone to the Lord about her plenty of times.
Now keep going to him.
And
Cause
I'm going to
that's
keep
who
going,
it's gonna
and I'm going
take.
to keep going to it because at the end of the day, when you really think about it, for me, um, when we made our vows, I took those vows very seriously. You know what I'm saying? I don't write anything just to be writing them, and I sure don't say anything just to say it.
Hold that thought. I think I said Pastor Yolanda Oliver White. It's Yolanda White Oliver.
Okay,
Correction. I got you, Phil. Wherever you at, I got you.
shout out to Pastor, to Pastor,
Pastor Oliver.
yeah, Yolanda White Oliver. Oh my God. But yeah, that's something that I would say that I could echo those sentiments, and I learned over the years, because if I really believe that God is the person that gave me, if God gave me this spouse, you know what I'm
Or
saying,
friend or
or
child
whoever,
or whatever it could be.
hey, I'm going to go to God, and hey, bro, what's going on? Because this here, I'm telling you, I done been, Lord, I don't know what's wrong with her. I,
Crazy.
I don't
No, I'm
understand
just
what I
playing.
don't understand what she got going
You
on.
know your wife crazy.
I don't
You knew
I don't
I was spoiled
understand.
when you got
You
me.
know what I'm
So
saying?
hey,
This, that, and the third. And
it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
I'm gonna need you to help me
There
to
you
be able
go.
to understand my wife, because I don't understand what this situation is for now. Give me the wisdom for my wife so that I understand whenever she's going through whatever she's going through, how I need to handle it. Be it if I need to say something or have a conversation, be it if I need to just, hey, baby, you okay? And fall back, whatever it is, give me the wisdom for my wife so that I'm able to operate in the way that I should. And that's something that I believe you can use that for anything. Give me the wisdom for my friend. Give me the
Oh
wisdom
yeah.
for my relative. Give me the wisdom for, my boss,
My
whatever.
child.
Your child. I mean, that's something
Job
that's
situation.
applicable.
Just
Yeah,
whatever it may be.
it's applicable for anything.
Whatever it may be. You got some more
Absolutely.
comments.
One comment. I like this. Damien Sandifer says, and most real men are very kind hearted, but sometimes the women change that part. And I can agree with that to a certain extent.
What did he say?
And most real men are very
Heavy on the
kind
real.
hearted. Yeah, heavy on the real, are very kind hearted, but sometimes the women change that part. I think
I
that goes
agree.
both ways.
I agree. I do think it can change that part. One thing I do wanna do is I wanna applaud the fact that a man is actually, able to express that thought
Yeah.
and to be honest in that women have a way of being that can harden a heart as well. Women's perspective sometime is always it's the man that changes us and hardens our heart and, right back ain't cheating and
Oh,
we
yeah.
gonna be like y'all gonna be and
Yeah.
whoop, 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 whoop. When in all actuality, there are just as many women
Mhm.
who can harden a heart as there are men. And so I think that it works both ways.
Absolutely.
I think that it takes work. And I think before regret sets in, we have to be honest, we have to be open, and I
Yeah.
think that we have to communicate. And that goes across the board, be it a marriage, a relationship, a friendship, a co-workership, your job, whatever it may be. You have to acknowledge whatever the issue is. You have to talk about it, be willing to communicate. And I think that you have to both parties or all parties have to be willing to come to a resolve.
And being able to do that, being able to do that is key. Being able to come to a resolve. Um, when me and my wife, when we decided that we were gonna do this podcast, we had, it was a very short but, very, necessary and needed conversation. Being able to come to a resolve that, we both understand that our opinions, they may not match all the time. and they're not gonna match all the time because we're people. She thinks differently from me, I think differently from her on some things. We think the same, on a lot of things, and that's just how it goes, but coming to a resolve, okay, we may not agree, but what we not getting ready to do is after this podcast, we carry all of that mess to bed.
Right.
You have to come to a resolve and again, set a boundary.
Boundaries
You know what
are
I'm
key.
saying? Because a lot of these topics that people want us to discuss and that we'll be discussing on upcoming pods, we might not agree on. We'll have differences of opinion, but at the end of the day, hey, we still got to live together.
And I
you
think
know,
that the healthy part is that we talked about it before it even happens, and but that takes maturity again,
absolutely.
and we weren't always here, and and
Oh
and
my
and so I
God,
have to be honest in that piece that we weren't always here. We weren't always here. It took a lot of prayer, a lot of prayer,
a
a little
lot.
therapy, and it just took respect. I think really in the end, respect and understanding.
Yeah,
Respect and understanding goes a long way, and the understanding that he was not made or created to be all that I wanted or needed him to be. He was created to be who God chose him to be. And
absolutely.
his opinion and his thought pattern doesn't have to always be mine. I mean, and 9 times out of 10, it's not. For those that really know Norris and I know that I'm the 0 to 100 real quick, and Norris is 0 to 1. He's at 1 and I'm at 100.
I'm about 20.
Usually,
I'm
usually,
about 20.
you are very mild-mannered, where I'm ready to go all the way in, and so there's a balance,
Oh,
and
that's
I
the truth.
think when we learn that there's a balance and
Absolutely.
and and the balance is healthy, I think we're able to, we're just it just works out. It just works out better.
So we have a question from Angelina Jones,
Okay,
and it's a question for us.
okay.
She says, "Hey y'all, so my question to the both of you is seeing that you've both been married before, why is it that they say that the first 7 years of a marriage is the hardest? Because I'm starting to believe that to be true. And I'm not sure if it's because that's what I've been told or because it really is. And I'm asking this because of my first marriage. But because this is my first marriage. You wanna
Well, first and foremost, I will say if this is your first marriage and potentially the maybe the first marriage to your husband, his first marriage. So if this is you guys' first marriage, I think that you're learning what marriage is
absolutely
about. I think that even though you've been in relationships as a mature adult, marriage is totally different.
true.
Marriage is a covenant that you should not lightly walk away from. So
Right.
it's to me, when you understand what marriage is, you understand the importance of it's a bond,
Mhm.
it's a covenant, and you've made the choice to stay there. I think that you can't buy into what society has told you, which
Absolutely.
is the first 5 to 7 years are the hardest. But you also have to acknowledge that that is also the time where you're learning the most about one another.
Absolutely.
I think that in the first years, you can date and say, "Oh, this my man and it's my husband," but until he's really your husband, when you say I do, things change. And I think when you acknowledge that when you say I do, things change, then it makes it a little bit better and it makes the transition a little better. I think that
Wow.
if you didn't live together and you're just beginning to live together, you learn new things.
Right.
I think you learn new things about your spouse and your mate every day. But I think the first 5 to 7 years, you're learning more and more. And I think that the enemy always, Angie, the enemy always wants you to believe that it's the hardest and you're the only one that go through those hard times and you're the only one that are going to suffer things. And just knowing a little bit about what I've seen, you guys have gone through a lot of things that are beyond y'all's control.
True.
So when you add those things that are beyond your control into your marriage on top of marital things, it does make things a little bit difficult. But my advice to you would be when it gets difficult is when you need to lean into your husband the most.
Absolutely.
That's when you need to love on him the most. And you need to encourage him and continue no matter how hard it gets to be his safe space. And I think that's what I learned being married before this, that I always, no matter what goes on, I have to continue to show up.
Right.
The old Lisa used to run. The new Lisa continues to show up. And I have to, no matter how I feel, I still have to love Mr. Henderson. Even if I don't like him in the moment, I still have to continue to love him. I still have to provide his safe space. I still have a covenant to be his wife and be what he needs, regardless at how I feel. You have to show up and do your part. And I think when you show up and do your part and you know that you're doing your part, baby, God will fix the rest. It may not be immediate, but he'll fix it.
And I would say on the flip side, the same way that she shows up for me, I have to show up for her. So the same way that you show up for your husband, he needs to show up for you. Because at the end of the day, life is going to life. And it's going to be situations that are going to hit you a lot harder than it hits him, and vice versa. And so because of that, you both have to understand that marriage is not singular. Well, no, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Marriage is Marriage is singular. And the reason that I say that is because biblically the two become one. So it's no longer I. It's us and we now. And so you're locked into each other. And because you're locked into each other, I don't want to see her, hurt. I don't want to see I don't want to see myself hurt. I don't want to see myself struggle. I don't want to see myself cry. I don't want to see myself, you know what I'm saying, go through all of these different things. And what I mean by that is myself meaning her, because she's a part of me and I'm a part of her. Because we're married and because we have made that covenant and because we have, said these things before God and man, a lot of people, they emphasize the marriage portion of it, with the wedding. Oh, well, I'm getting married, I'm getting married, I'm getting married. And everybody is, I mean, stupid over the wedding, not understanding that the real work comes
I
y'all
do.
after y'all done kicked it and y'all done had a crazy reception
And the money is gone
and
because y'all broke. You didn't
y'all done
spent it
danced
all.
y'all done danced the night away, y'all did all of that stuff. Now the real work
Yeah.
begins. And so something that we often say is that it's a choice every day. You literally have to choose somebody every day.
And if you take anything away from what we're saying is I would say that every day I choose because we have a choice.
Every day.
I choose to wake up and be Norris's wife every day and be the wife that I'm supposed to be. Do I always get it right? Absolutely not. But I choose to hold my vows and my covenant to God, and I choose to love him, and I choose to choose him every day.
And vice
Every
versa.
day.
And vice versa. Go ahead. Something that
Mama
that
Kim
yeah.
just said that.
And yeah, you're not just learning each other, but you're learning yourself, and that's what I was going to say. Though people do say that well 7 years is this, and and 7 years is the hardest, and da 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 da. And we hear all kind of people say all kind of stuff. We've heard people say all kind of crazy stuff over the years, even when we was growing up. Just things that we have embedded in our mind because this is what somebody that was older than us said, or somebody more experienced said. And so because they said that, we believe it. But the truth of the matter is, if we're just being honest, we dated for 3 years. We've only been married 4 years, and I feel like this is one of the best years that we've had in our marriage.
This is true. And like Mama Kim says, she says, more than learning each other, you're learning yourself.
Absolutely.
Because the Angie that you knew or the Lisa that I knew is now the Angie, somebody's wife.
Right.
The Lisa, somebody's wife. The Angie now has taken on more kids and your blended families and your grandparent, just the things that I know. You're learning now how to be you all over again because the you used to be is not the you are now. So I really, really love that point
Absolutely.
is that more than learning each other, you're learning yourself because you do. I am not the Lisa that I was this time last year.
Right.
I mean, so many life happens and you have to adjust and you have to pivot and you have to change and Norris's needs change and my needs change and I need the
Yeah.
fan every night and I go to bed cold and I wake up hot. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Things change.
Come
Things
on, man.
change. Life happens,
It does.
and as you get older, your needs change, you know? Your needs change, I have days where I wanna be all up under North, and then I have days where I'm like, "Go to your TV room, and you do your thing, and Imma be over here," and we could go hours without talking in the same house.
And we okay with
Needs
that.
change, and I think that's just it. Angie, you have to just learn you aren't the person you used to be. You're learning your new person. You're learning your husband's person, and together y'all are learning who y'all are as husband and wife. And give grace. Give grace.
And
Give grace. There
that's
is
what I was
no
gonna
book
say.
on your marriage. You can read all you wanna read. You can listen to people, you can ask for advice, but there is no book on your marriage and what's gonna work for you or your relationship and what's gonna work.
And I was gonna second that. When you get married, you unlock a whole different part of you. When you become a wife and you would become a husband, it's like husband mode is activated, wife mode is activated. Something that was in you that you really hadn't even really dealt with now innately has come out of you because you've taken these vows. And the truth of the matter is, things do change. People would love to try to tell you that things don't change when you get married,
Yes,
but
they
that's not
do.
true. That's not true. Things do change when you get married because there is a certain expectation, even more so, that you place on that person once you have actually told them that you're going to marry them. And you said this before, whomever you needed to say it to, be it courthouse or big church wedding. You've made that vow and that commitment. And so things have changed now. It's again, it's no longer just me, and what I want and what I do, and this is how I do things when at my house and da 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 da.
And
You
like you said, expectation, there's an expectation, but also no expectations are made to change.
absolutely.
You have to change those as well. So as you're changing, as you're living, as you're evolving, as you're learning, you have to learn to adjust. And I think flexibility in the adjustments
Grace.
is
Grace.
necessary.
Grace, period, point blank.
Yeah.
Learning to give each other grace
And be
because
willing to forgive.
yeah, forgive, forgive, forgive. It's one of the greatest tools that God has ever given us. Forgive,
So
no, real talk. We can laugh. We look back on stuff that we went through and we laugh. But
it wasn't
man,
funny at the
in the
time.
beginning when we was going through it, it was not a joke. You know what I'm saying? But we worked. We worked hard. And we trusted God. You know what I'm saying? In it all, and we understood that marriage is about processes. You're going to go through different processes as you get older, and as you stay with a person longer, things are going to change. And so you're going to have to process differently and think differently. Needs are going to change. So you're going to have to maneuver differently, Angie. So, you know, I would just tell you, yeah, I mean, I know that people say that, you know what I mean? But I would also say some stuff you have to put out of your mind and you just need to focus on you and
Oh,
your
yeah.
marriage. Period, point blank.
So lastly, because we are way over time, and we
Way
thank
over.
y'all for sticking and hanging with us. Regret can be tough, but it is also something you can work through.
Absolutely.
Here are some ways to approach it depending on the type of regret you're carrying. One, acknowledge it fully. Don't push it away or minimize it. Let yourself feel the emotion, whatever that may be. Regret is often a sign that you care deeply or have learned something important. Number two, separate fact from emotion. Ask yourself what actually happened and what is still within my control now. This will help you distinguish between what you can change and what you can't change. Thirdly, turn it into a teacher. Reasons, seasons, lessons learned. Regret often points toward values or priorities you didn't fully act on. Instead of punishing yourself, ask, what is this regret trying to teach me?
Wow.
And lastly, practice self forgiveness. Remind yourself you made the best decision you could with who you were and what you knew at that time. I forgive myself for not knowing better back then. I choose to learn and do better now.
And at the end of the day, that's it. That's all. Learn from it and choose to do better. I mean, that's all you really can do because when it comes down to it, I mean, where else can you go? I mean, there's only two ways you're gonna be able to do. You're gonna go up or you're gonna go down. You know what I'm saying? I
Choose
would,
wisely
yeah, choose wisely and go up. Don't ever stay down like that. You know what
and
I'm
know that
saying?
every day is a new day.
Every day is a new day. So we want to thank y'all, man. This has been
Thank you.
we appreciate y'all
Y'all
coming
hung out with
on.
us tonight, and
Yeah,
y'all did so good in the comments and engaging and interacting with us. We really appreciate y'all more than
like
you ever know.
tag, share. You know what I'm saying? Get on the page, man, and tell your friends, your loved ones, man. Turn on your live notifications. His voice, her vibe podcast is crazy. They're talking about some real life stuff. You know what I mean? And we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. Now, next week, we'll be back on again on Sunday,
So that
next
we can get back
Sunday,
on
so that
schedule.
we can get back on schedule. So we'll be doing 2 shows back to back this week and then next week, and then we'll skip a week so that we can get back on track
With our
on
second and fourth.
yeah, on second and fourth Sundays. So look forward to seeing y'all next week. We're gonna be here again doing what we do, giving that real talk, and we appreciate y'all joining
If you
in.
have something that you would like to discuss or a topic that you would like for us to
And
handle, or even a question that you would like for us to pose to our audience, let us know.
hit the email.
Let us know. We will say that if you email us and you want to stay confidential, we will respect that.
Absolutely.
We will respect that, but we will definitely put your question out there or your topic, and we will do our best to do a little research and come back and we'll have some real talk.
So the email address is herv at gmail.com. One more time, herv at gmail.com. Send us whatever it is that you want us to talk about, at whatever topics, whatever questions that you may have. And again, if you want to be kept confidential, we'll definitely keep it confidential.
Absolutely.
And until then, y'all, we will see y'all
See you
again.
Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Y'all take care. God bless each and every one of y'all, man. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a good evening,
Good
everybody.
night.